this situation, what do you do?
I'm proud of his development from where he was at this point last year to where he is right now in practice one. He's come a long way in the pocket, moving in the pocket, seeing things and drop back protection. And we have a list of things that he's working on to get better at. But a lot of it is, just learning to play the position. And in terms of this past season, as time went along, he got more and more responsibility. And now it's kind of year two, so now we spend a lot of time talking about the intricacies of the position, protections, route progressions, coverages, things like that. We can get a little bit more involved and start to explain the playbook a little bit more.
Is that jump first to second year, your understanding, again, having not seen it, like monstrous? They say that jump is pretty big.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, that's the idea, is for it to be big. And I think, when you saw what Dwayne did in that year, or you see what Joe did, there was a lot of years behind closed doors of a lot of work being done in the meeting room, on the field, practice, and then you get to see where they ended up, where it's hard to do that when you don't have all those reps under your belt. And although, you guys and everybody else doesn't see all the reps that are had because they're not in games, we practice so much more than we play. And all those reps in practice, 7-on-7 team, red zone, third down, and then the film work, the hours that are spent to improve and understand what's going on, so that when you get to that moment, you're ready to go. And that's been the idea here. And that's where hopefully Justin now can, again, take some of those reps, take those meetings, and now step his game way up.
Right from the outside, the secondary just looks like the biggest uncertainty maybe on the roster. When you guys are in here looking at it, what's the feeling, what's the mood about what you have to work with?
Well, I mean, Sean coming back was huge. I think Sean, in my opinion, should be considered, the top corner in the country coming back in all of football. But when you look at that, and then Cam's coming back and Seven's coming back, you get some decent depth there in terms of reps. And now some of those younger guys are gonna have to step up. That's I think the next thing. And then Marcus Hooker and Marcus Williamson. I think both of those guys got reps last year. They have them under their belt. Josh Proctor's. He's been a little dinged up, but we'll get him back. So there's a lot of guys there that got reps, but haven't played a significant role. And I think that combined with some of the younger guys, they're gonna have to play in. We have Lathan Ransom also coming in, and Cam Martinez as well. So that'll our numbers will be right. Now it's just a matter of, can Ryan Watts and Legend Cavazos and those guys step up to play significant time this year, and that's what the spring's here for.
So if you were in the spring and you're the coach, like, you want to see them take the next step, the young guys, but you don't have Sean, you don't have Cameron right now, Proctor's out there, like, Matt, those are the guys you're counting on. You probably wanted them to play in spring. Like, how does that impact a coach's thinking? Does it make you nervous that you can't get them going right now? Well,
I mean, you certainly want them out there, but again, the best thing that happened to us was being in those games last year where they played a lot of football. I mean, there's real football and real evidence of them playing in the Big Ten, which that's pretty unique. So that we do know that at the end of the day, when we put our heads on our pillows, they've played football. Now, we certainly need them to get out there. We need them to improve. We need them to get better. But we also know that that's happened. So, yeah, I mean, we want them out there, and we'll get them back out there soon.
Ryan, it seems like slot receiver will be an interesting spot. Just KJ Hill was such a reliable guy there. How do you see that position group kind of shaking out?
Yeah, we'll see. You're right. I mean, that's a transition spot for us. I mean, last year we used some two tight end stuff to kind of supplement KJ a little bit, but we're hoping to get C.J. Saunders back. But we also have Garrett in there. We have Demario McCall. We have Jackson. We have Mookie. So we got a couple different guys in there that were out of practice today, and it was good. It was a good day, honestly. For the first day, just seeing those guys play in the slot, it was pretty natural. So I thought today was a good start. Well, we'll see how we get going through the rest of spring.
How much of an adjustment is it for a guy like Garrett who played more outside this year than slide inside?
I don't think it's some guys you put them in there and you're not sure. Today looked pretty natural for those guys though.
It's on CJ.
So we're just waiting to hear about being eligible in the 6th year, and we'll go back from the NCAA. I believe in April we'll probably have a better idea of some sort of response from them.
Yeah, Coach. So Harry Miller moving to left guard, it looks like. Can you talk about the decision to slide him over?
Yeah, we're trying to find the best 5 guys to play, and Thayer, Josh, and Wyatt are obviously returning, and so now we got to find the next. We got to find 4 and 5. So however that shakes out, we'll try to figure that out. But certainly don't want to put guys into roles and then not have the best 5 guys on the field. So whatever that is, and we're going to try Harry at guard and see if he can be, 4, and then figure out, who plays at right tackle. That's the idea.
Does he need to shore up to be a solid starter this season?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You have to be strong in the run game and be able to move guys up front. A G and a 3 technique. You got to be able to, create some movement in the run game. And first off, you have to know what you're doing. That's part of it. But it helps to have some guys around you that have been around and can communicate with each other. But then in the pass game, you got to hold up as well. You got to do a good job in protecting and holding the pocket, and especially inside, you can't get knocked back in the lap of the quarterback. And shoring up the inside of the protections is an emphasis point for us this year. So, but Harry's a high functioning football player. He's got a good IQ, and he played at center, so that really helps in terms of identifying things early on. You have to make a lot of calls, and so I don't think it's going to move too fast for him, but he does have to step up because we need guys to step up in that group.
Right in front of him, Dan from 11 Warriors. Ryan, you guys moved Cade Stover to tight end, Cormonte Hamilton to defensive line. Just wondering what went into those decisions, why you guys decided to switch them.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those guys have a chance to be really good players for us this year. And I look at, we looked at their skill set and brought them in and talked them through and, suggested that we see a skill set in them that maybe they don't see in their own. And, ask them what their input was. And both of them were excited about challenge, being, presented with the new challenge. And so I think Cade, when you look at his skill set, his basketball background, and his spatial awareness and things like that, his toughness, we think that he projects into being a really good tight end. And vice versa, Cormonte, Coach Johnson worked with him in camp and saw what he could do on the defensive line. And just watching him this year on the scout team, we thought he had a chance to play really good in terms of a tackle, so or a defensive end. He could do both. So we're going to see what happens this spring. It's kind of a new challenge for those guys, but in the skill sets that we see, we think there's a future for both those guys.
How do you approach that as a coach in terms of, at a certain point in a career, you want a guy to be locked in at one position?
Yeah, well, I think they're both young, and we brought them in and talked them through the whole process, and certainly aren't going to, force something down their throat. Something that there was a back and forth there, and tried to get their feedback. And I think both those guys felt like they wanted to just get on the field as soon as they could, and talking it through. At the end, it was their decision; it wasn't ours. And I think if you own the decision, then you have more likely to embrace it more and to run with it. And I think both those guys are going to do that.
Yeah, Ronald, just you kind of touched on this a minute ago, but just your impression of those young receivers, the freshman dudes running around out there, especially Jackson, had some pretty outstanding catches today. Julian Fleming, as the day went on, seemed to get going and stuff. Just what's your impression of these guys right off the bat?
Talented. They're talented. I think the thing that strikes me is with all the 7-on-7 and things that are going on throughout America, they're further along than maybe receivers were 5 to 10 years ago. Certainly you can see a guy like Jackson who's played in Texas, where they have those activity periods. They have so many reps under their belt that it just makes sense for them. You can see that today. You can see the talent of Julian and just, his ability to get off of a line of scrimmage and make plays down the field and his size. G. Scott, it really surprised me just how mature his releases were and him getting off of the line of scrimmage. And then Mookie flashed. I mean, I think all 4 of them really have a chance to play and be successful. Now, they have a long way to go. But for day one, better than expected.
Yeah, you kind of touched on something I wanted to ask you about, though. Jackson from Texas, where spring football, and
That's right.
How much would you like to see Ohio high schools get into that in some form or fashion? What do you think would work for them?
Well, I've I think made it public that proposed a 5-day spring practice schedule or practice for high schools, and they're in the process of kind of voting on that, and hopefully we can get that passed as soon as possible, because I do think it matters, and I do think it's good for the state of Ohio to evaluate, these guys, and whether it's Ohio State or any colleges, but it also for the development of football players throughout the state.
One other quickie, too, following up on Harry Miller. A lot of people thought if he'd gone a lot of other places last year, he might have gotten a start as a freshman somewhere. You watched him as much as anyone. Does he look fairly natural at the guard spot? I mean, what did you just see right off the bat?
I didn't really notice. I'll have to watch the film and see, but starting as a freshman necessarily isn't a good thing at any position. It's about the development, where you're at in the end, and I think Stud did a great job of developing Harry, and the ability for him to now go from guard to center is really, really good, and so I think he's going to be the next really good one in terms of, the Elf Lines and the Corey Linsleys and the Billy Prices, and so I think, him having to be able to do both of those is important, just like Josh started kind of back and forth, and So, we're expecting a big thing from him.
Practice one here today, but come April 11th, are there questions in your head? Austin was asking about the secondary, of position groups, players. What kind of questions are in your head that you want to hopefully have answered at the end of the spring in terms of position groups, whatever?
Yeah, I look at it like, you have the 15 practices in the spring, and then when you start in August on the first practice of preseason, that's just practice 16. It's just an extension of the off season, as opposed to, okay, what are we getting done here in the spring, and then what are we getting done in the summer? So really, we don't really install day one of preseason. It's already been installed. Now it's time to pick off from where we left off on practice 15. And when you have those 15 practices under your belt, along with all the meetings and all the other time in the off season to go through, these guys have so much time to improve. But the idea of spring practice is for each guy individually to get better, their unit to get better fundamentally and technically. And then as we get into the preseason, it becomes a little bit more about the scheme, a little bit more about the unit, in terms of their identity. That being said, I mean, every position has their own story. We could spend a lot of time talking about that, but I think it's, okay, where are the leaders? Who needs to be the leaders? And then where is everybody else? And because you have so many young guys on this team, there's a lot of guys that don't have a lot of reps under their belt. Obviously, the 15 kids coming in at mid-year are some of them, and then there's other positions where they've played, here and there. But are you going to step up and now be a starter? And that's, what you want to see with your team. But the chemistry will be fun. Every year is a new journey. In college football, you have a new coaching staff, you have a new, group of leaders, you have a new group of seniors, and so that dynamic is different year in and year out. So I already think we have a good feeling for that. 2 months into the off-season program, but getting on the field will be different too, because you also have to play the game. That's a big part of it as well. And I think at this time last year, when you look at Akuda, you look at Chase Young, you look at J.K. Dobbins, they were younger guys, but they had such an impact on the field. They became good leaders that helped them along the way and springboarded them into leadership. And I think there'll be some guys like that this spring as well.
The 14, I guess 15 new guys, how'd they do during winter conditioning? And what do you want them to get out of the next
no, they did a good job. And it's to get football under their belt, learn football. When you show up in August, if the first time you've ever heard of a play or a formation, or where do I run during an individual drill, or where's my locker, or what do I wear for cleats, or all those things, that distracts you from being effective on the field. And so it's just to kind of get the rhythm, get a routine going, learn the offense, learn the defense, and figure out where you fit into it.
Second row middle, Bruce from Sports Illustrated Maven. There were talk about JK a year ago taking a leap. I wonder if you see in Master what you need to see to replace a 2,000-yard back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a concern is when you lose so much production. JK, his freshman year, did such a great job, and then he and Mike kind of split it the year before, and then JK stepped up in a big way. So, yeah, I mean that position, when it comes time to the fall, is going to have to step up in a big way.
Your second game at Oregon jumps out because of what they did. What's the protocol timing for when you start delving into opponents on the schedule, and particularly them, because they loom as a big threat?
Yeah, I mean, I think once you get into June and July, you start to really look at those guys when you have a better feel for your team, because it's one thing to know what they do, but it doesn't really make much sense unless you know who you are and your identity, because there are certain things that you evolve with as the off season goes on, and as the season goes on, you look different. There's certain things you do that look the same, and those things, and we'll look at those. But I think once you get into June and July, that you start to get closer to where you're at, and then obviously in August and September.
Any circumstances under which Wint and Reed could return to the team?
No.
Exoneration? No. Front row left, Doug from Cleveland.com.
You guys have talked about Sean Wade moving outside at corner. When Seven out there today was on the outside corner all the time. Is Cam Brown, when he's healthy, in the mix in the slot at all? Or just thinking about those are your top three corners, at least coming in, right? Are all three of them only on the outside?
Great question. I think it goes back to the old line. I think you find your best three guys. And if Seven, Cam, or Sean can one of those three guys can do a good job inside, then we'll do that. But the good thing for Kerry is, when you come in here fresh, you get a fresh look at it, and you get a chance to see it. And I think as time goes on here through March and April, he'll get a good feel for their skill sets and try to figure out the best guys to put on the field, especially for third down.
I know it's day one. Looked like Nick Petit-Frere and Paris were rotating at right tackle. you mentioned the idea of a true freshman starting, you know, but how much is, at least right now, Paris in that mix to say, you know, show us what you got, and if you're the best guy, maybe you'll start.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's so early, like you said. It is day one, but I mean, the best players are going to play, and you know, we have 15 in the spring, and then you know, a bunch of them in the preseason. You know, some in the 20s. So you're talking about almost 40 practices before you get going. So it's just day one. It's a long way before then, but hey, I mean, he's very, very talented. He's got a lot of ability, and if he's the best player, he's going to play.
To follow up on Garrett Wilson in the slot, I mean, we saw how explosive that guy can be, going up and getting balls. Made the helicopter catch against Clemson. Like, to see him just lining up there at all in the slot today that much, that's a pretty potentially explosive dude in that position, right? What is just maybe in your head of why maybe that's the way you would go with him?
Well, I think when you look at his background, his basketball background, his spatial awareness is off the charts. His range is really good. He can operate in short areas. The other thing for him is he can time up down the field, like you said, so he's got a unique skill set. But I just think his ability to catch the ball, put it away, run after the catch so quickly is something you want out of a slot receiver. And you know, running option routes, setting up defenders, understanding space and everything like that. It happens a lot faster in there, but I think his skill set, you know, fits that way. Same thing with Jackson. I think they fit that way, and so that's why we made that move.
Right, two more quickies. Since I've been here, every year there are great players to replace the great players. That's what Ohio State does. But Chase Young might be the best pass rusher that you guys have ever had here. Jeff Okudah is in the mix as the best corner you ever had here. I'm sure you tell your guys this every year, but you probably won't have a defensive end as good as Chase and a corner as good as Jeff, just because that bar is so high. So then what does a whole defense have to do to say we're going to be as good defensively when maybe those two positions can't be as good as those guys were?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I know our guys see that as, you know, the benchmark in terms of, you know, that's what we want to be at those positions, but I don't think we spend a lot of time talking about that. It's more about just maximizing yourself every day and maximizing our unit, playing with toughness, playing with effort, running to the football. Because there's a lot of areas, you know, we weren't perfect on defense last year. We got a lot better. We did a lot of good things, but we weren't perfect as a unit, and that's what the focus is. And when we play well as a defense, all of a sudden now guys get these accolades, and guys have an opportunity to go to New York and everything else. But again, it goes back to the group, and that's what the focus has got to be.
Last one, your contract that you signed since we talked to you last, the raises that are built in there that get you up among the top 10 guys, it looks like in the country pretty quickly. The buyout there that looks sizable enough to show maybe, you know, make it a little harder for you to leave. What would you like the world to take out of your extension and the raises that you got? What does that mean?
Well, I think the person and the people that were the most excited about that were my kids, because they knew that they weren't going to be the new kid in school for a long time again. And that's the idea, is that we're here for a long time. And I'm certainly couldn't be more grateful for the Board of Trustees, President Drake, and obviously Gene Smith, who I owe everything to him and obviously Urban Meyer to be in this position, because that's a big deal. That changes our life as a family, and we don't take that lightly. But the number one thing that we're the most excited about as a family is we get to be in Columbus again for hopefully, you know, the next 7 to 10 years, hopefully 20 years. We want to be here as long as we can. We love it here. The kids love the school system. They have a set of friends. Nina loves it here, and that's what's most exciting about this.
Sorry, just to follow up, you kind of said some of that stuff last year, right? But when you sign something like this and get an extension like this, you think that says that even more? That puts that in writing even more?
Well, yeah. I mean, it goes out to 7 years now, which is a significant deal, and that's a long time in college football, and that's just really exciting for us. And so, to me, it wasn't even really the money part of it; it was the years, and that's what's exciting to us.
Ryan, how much does it impact you what you guys want to do this spring to have only 2 scholarship running backs, and what went into moving DeMario out of that room back to the receiver?
Well, DeMario still can do that, though. You know, we're just starting him out the slot, and then we can always bring him back. He has that skill set. It's something that we've always tried to find that role for him where he can be a running back and then also be a matchup problem for teams like that. It didn't quite play out like that, and I think a lot of that had to do with how well J.K. was playing. It was hard to take J.K. off the field last year. And same thing with KJ, you know, and we got into a rhythm a little bit of, you know, KJ was in the slot, and then we were getting some 12 personnel, and so we never quite got that far with DeMario. And but we're going to do that this spring. I mean, he's going to play some running back. He's going to line up at slot. He's going to do both of those things. And but yeah, I mean, we're going to get Marcus back, before the season starts, and then we have Mayan coming in. So once we get to the summer, we'll be whole. But yeah, I mean, we're one injury away from a little bit of a crisis right now. But in the end, when it comes to September, we're going to be okay.
And then Pete Werner is listed like 242 on the roster. It looked like he was playing more as an inside backer today. Is that a permanent thing? Is he now moving there, or are you just trying to move him around to different spots? Is what's going on?
That's what it is. Yeah, moving around, try him in a couple different spots. We have some good veteran guys that have played a lot of football. What is that right mix? And that's what's great now that Greg's here for his second year. Al's here for a second year. These guys have now seen these guys for a year, and then Kerry comes in with fresh eyes, and a lot of good conversation on that side of the ball in that room, trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step for us on defense?
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
You touched on this a little bit, but just how much more comfortable are you in year two? And yet, because of the way last season ended, is it possible you're even more motivated?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. I think that the focus is just a little bit different in terms of every day was kind of new last year. And now it's more focused on the product and the result, and in the end, in terms of where are we going with this thing, and really have the vision set for, we were there last year, so you kind of have been through it before, and as we lead up to this, what needs to happen leading up to it. But again, just refocusing things for the team and trying to find that chemistry. But yeah, getting to that game and feeling that thing and not winning, that leaves an unbelievable taste in our mouth, and so it's just motivating us more.
Kerry Combs was out there for the first time. What were your impressions of just him, defensive coordinator? He's running the show now, and just.
Well, he hasn't lost a step, that's for sure. He was running around all over the place, and just as I remember him, a lot of energy, and the guys love playing for him, but very, very intense and extremely competitive. I mean, you talk about a guy who fights every single day. That's Kerry Combs.
And of the guys on the injury report, are any of them long-term, potentially season-ending injuries?
No. I mean, as you look at those guys, like we said in that availability report, we try to stay away from all that. But really, all those guys, we're expecting to have back in September.
And final question, over here to the right, Clay from WSYX.
I'm not sure there's anything left, but are you still molding Corey Dennis? How did he handle himself now that he's full, whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was pretty natural today. He stepped right in, and he's got his hands full there with some young guys with inexperience, and but he knows the system. He knows how to teach. He's going to do a great job. He's going to make mistakes, but it was really good to see him out there today. He's got a good relationship with those guys. And he and I know how we work together. So I mean, sometimes we show up at the quarterback together, and then other times we'll give him a little bit of space. And I think that we play off each other really, really well. And he's going to be a great coach.
Is more asked of him because that's your job, that's your position.
Yeah.
So, and he's holding up well.
Oh yeah, no, he'll do great. He's very, very talented. He's got an unbelievable work ethic. He's got a really good way with people, good teacher, and wants to do great and highly motivated.